It's hard to talk about dimensions, but I was standing behind an alien in a spacecraft, just a small one, which I understand get bigger and smaller depending upon. At any rate, he said, "You shouldn't be here." And I said, "I know, I realize this is a strange place, but before I go, could I ask you a question?" And this is really a very strong memory in me. I don't remember what I had for dinner last night, but this is in there. I'm telling myself I'm silly again. Dude, it's not in there. At any rate, and he said, "Okay." And I said, "How do you get from here to Alpha Centauri? We can't do that. The only thing that we think about is I have to go really fast for a really long time. How is it that you can go to Alpha Centauri without any problem?" And essentially he said, "You wouldn't understand." So I said, "I agree that that's a problem. However, I know that you have access to my mental thoughts. I mean, you're not talking to me with your mouth. You have access to my mental thoughts, and I understand that. Can you use what information I have in my head and try to explain it to me?" And he said, "Well, do you know what a Rubik's Cube is?" And I said, "Oh yeah, my son can do them in 2 minutes." He says, "Okay, so imagine a Rubik's Cube, but not necessarily just the 6 sides. Just imagine the concept of a Rubik's Cube." And I said, "Okay. Now imagine on each one of the tiles on the Rubik's Cube has a chart of the elements, an elemental chart." And you say, "Oh yeah, I know what that is. I've had science in school and everything." He says, "Now, on each of the other 5 surfaces, there's also elemental charts." And I said, "So, okay, but what's the deal?" And he said, "Well, you're thinking about going that way very fast for a very long time." What he didn't say to me, which I'm thinking right now, there's no space and time. I'm only thinking that right now. That wasn't part of the explanation.
Uh-huh.
And he says, "So what you do to get to Alpha Centauri is you just twist the cube." And I said, What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I told you wouldn't understand." And he said, "When the periodic table occurs in a different place, you're at that place." And that's just a very crude explanation. But you have to stop thinking about go that way for a long time very fast. It doesn't work.